What is up, Workbringer here, or today it is actually work meta. You'll see that the commonality between all my characters is the prefix work. People in Raid pretty much call me work as well, so maybe I'll start saying, hey, work here. I think that might be it. So, Vengeance Demon Hunter, very new. Let's see if I can commentate how I'm doing so far. So, we're going to pull with Elysian Decree. Big damage. Big damage. Sometimes Elysian Decree is like 60k on a big group of mobs. It's a lot of aggro. That's what's important, and that's what I still struggle with as a Vengeance Demon Hunter, is how do I keep aggro? I think it's actually easier to keep aggro on a Protection Paladin. It's a lot easier in my opinion, and we'll talk about survivability and tankiness. We have the tools for this, definitely. But you can still die as a Vengeance Demon Hunter. I mean, there's still, I think, a pretty high skill cap to play it really well. So we're gonna get this next pack here. You'll see that I did not elect to double pull like I would be doing on my Protection Paladin. That's because I'm still pretty uncomfortable on this tune. And it's an 11, so 11's not where people expect the double pulls, though you'll see what happens later on. Again, I just single pulling, it's sanguine. And everyone has kicks, pretty much, so they could have kicked that Vanguard to have pulled him out of the Sanguine. No one did, of course. I don't know why. What are they focusing the patchwork? Anyway, if they had kicked that, he wouldn't have walked in. He wouldn't have full healed, meat shield. Again, I'm the one kicking it, but again, it's an 11, so whatever. We're not gonna be, okay, he's still sitting there. We're not gonna be hurting for time. So keeping aggro is still the hardest thing about it. And it's the priority of what spells do you use to do this, right? So the easiest one, now that Elysian Decree is up, is Elysian Decree, Infernal Strike, right? And in that case, that was actually Flame Sigil, which is the same, very similar, just way less power, and then it's a dot after. And then you jump on them, right? But the jump, although it looks really aggressive and cool, Infernal Strike, doesn't do that much damage compared to like Avenger Shield into Shield the Righteous with my legendary. That is a lot of damage and a much bigger cone. Infernal Strike's this tiny 6-yard circle, and what's it called? Flame Sigil's not that much damage. Now that's the big damage right there. If Elysian Decree is off cooldown, and that's the equivalent Kyrian ability of Divine Toll, except it's uncapped, whereas Divine Toll is only 5 people. And you have to be in range of them, right? So sometimes you don't really Divine Toll everyone unless you're like right on them. Elysian Decree is uncapped, so if you want to hit 100 mobs, you can hit 100 mobs with it if you get them into a little circle, which if you watch the MDI, that's exactly what they do. And you will get top threat at all of them. It is humongous damage. I know they're thinking about nerfing it, but I hope they don't, because it's kind of fun. But it's probably one of the best Covenant spells for tanks like in this expansion so far. So to talk a little bit about our defensives here, this is what is referred to as the Fiery Brand build. And if you look at the 4th spell on my hotbar in the middle, I'm sorry, the 2nd spell, that is Fiery Brand. And that is a 30-yard cast. It's pretty far actually, which is cool. And it's going to put a 40% damage reduction on the mob you're attacking. So that scales. You know, the mob, we could be on like a plus 23, and it's still going to basically reduce 40% of the damage that mob does, right? So unlike Shield of the Righteous, which does scale with your strength and whatnot, if the mob is like 50 times stronger, you have a flat, pretty much, defensive armor armor from Shield of the Righteous. Fiery Brand scales with the mob, so that's pretty helpful. And the legendary I have is going to reduce the cooldown of Fiery Brand every time I Soul Cleave, which is like my 2nd spell. I don't show it. I don't have to keep track of it, but you Soul Cleave a lot, an awful lot. So the cooldown of Fiery Brand is reduced by a conduit by 10 seconds. I have the 213 conduit, so it's a 50-second cooldown, and then when you Soul Cleave, which is like the equivalent of like Blessed Hammer for a Holy Paladin, the cooldown comes down. So you basically have Fiery Brand every, like, I don't know, 40 seconds, every 30 seconds. You have it for every major pull. And the build that I'd use is what everyone uses, I believe so far, is that, as I won't go over every single aspect of it, but essentially Fiery Brand, you apply it to one target, the big cleave mob, the one that's not going to die immediately, and then it just spreads to every other mob. So basically every 30 seconds you have a 40% damage reduction on the entire mob pack. Now there is nuance to doing that correctly in the order that you apply it. You can't pull with Fiery Brand, you'll have no aggro, which you'll watch me struggle with learning how to do this still. There is nuance to it, and so the balance is keeping threat and applying Fiery Brand, letting it spread and living that long. So that's the core of the Demon Hunter build that I'm doing here, is Fiery Brand. Right, so you'll watch me apply it and then hopefully spread it. We still have Pride here, so I'm just running in, no marking, we're just giving them the damage. And that was 66k damage, that was a 66k pull. So Vengeance Demon Hunter, if you play Soul Bomb, which I do not do, your damage is just high. Like I don't know, like 5k overall for a dungeon sometimes, something like that, pretty high. But you're not as tanky, in my opinion, as Fiery Brand. So Fiery Brand, again, defensive legendary, defensive build, low DPS, right? If I do Fiery Brand, my DPS is like honestly like twice as high. But you know, at the higher key, I mean, it helps, but it's not the play, right? Like the people, the damage in your group, they're the ones that scale into omega crazy numbers. Me going from like 3k to 5k overall, it's maybe for certain dungeons that's going to really matter where I'm not dying so much, but really it's about pulling big, kiting and living, right, as a Vengeance Demon Hunter. And I will say, although we have Fiery Brand really quickly, we have meta, which is great. We have Demon Spikes, and I know they're buffing the legendary, the Ardent Defender legendary for the Prot Pals. I still feel like Protection Paladin is tankier, and am I just crazy? It could be because I'm new at Demon Hunter, and it could be because I'm under-geared as a Demon Hunter, and I'm like a 220 Prot Paladin, but I don't know, I feel pretty tanky as a Paladin. I don't know what people are talking about. Everyone and their mom says that Protection Paladins are paper tanks. I don't know if I can agree with that, but whatever. So I have already gotten AOTC on this tune here, so I killed Heroic Sire. I'll post the video. Killing Heroic Sire is a really good way to learn the spec, because you're basically just fighting one mob the whole time, right? And so all you really focus on is resource management and rotating defensives. So you get to learn how to rotate your defensives, you get to learn how long that takes. It's really good. And it's very simple and it's repetitive. You do it over and over again until you finally get it, you finally live through Sire's one-shot abilities. And you either mitigated or you died, and so it's a great way of learning it. So I'll post that video. I know not a lot of people watch raid content, but anyway. So we used Sigil of Change there to group them all up. That's great. Not so much on Sanguine sometimes, but it does group them all together, and it's also an interrupt, I believe. And I really play Venji like I'm a Protection Paladin. I'm going to use Glaive, which you throw your Glaive at them and it bounces to 2 other targets. That's pretty much identical to Avenger Shield, except it's on a 2-second cooldown or something ridiculously low. High threat, no damage though. The damage is like, I think it's like 5 damage. It's something really low. But you'll see me Glaive pull a lot. I don't know if anyone else Glaive pulls as much as I do. They probably Infernal Strike pull, but I'm still, you know, in my brain, I face the cleave towards my Holy Paladin, sorry. I very much still think like a Protection Paladin, so I'm using Glaive probably way too much. Elysian Decree goes off almost after the mobs died, so that's a whiff. Probably should have saved it for Pride here, but you know, we do big AoE damage with Elysian Decree, and that's kind of it. Everything else is like okay, unless you're playing Soul Bomb. And again, Fiery Brand, hopefully I'm going to apply it. There it is, boom. So 9 seconds of Fiery Brand on the mob on paper, but the other talent is that Immolation Aura, which is kind of like our consecration that just stays on us, it just follows us around. It's an aura, right? Immolation Aura will actually extend the duration of Fiery Brand. So I don't know how long it actually lasts, but it lasts more than it says, right? So we're mind soothing this. For this group, we waited a very long time for a rogue/priest. And I confused the group because I marked that mob as skull, and I think they thought we were going to kill it, but I just meant to mark it to say we're going to CC it. I don't have all my macros set up on this character yet, and I also don't have my engineering maxed, and I'm still working on it. So we're going to Elysian Decree pull. that's the ideal 20k against 2 targets. Pretty juicy, pretty spicy. I believe we've fiery branded already, so 40% damage reduction, big threat. That's pretty much the gameplay for me. The question becomes when Elysian Decree is off cooldown and I'm going into a spicy pull, then I'm gonna start using Infernal Strike, which is the green. I'm sorry, I'm gonna use Sigil of Flame, which is just like a dot. Basically, it puts like some decent damage and then a dot on everyone. It's my second sigil. It's the green sigil that you'll see under there. I'm still working on the UI. This is like the 3rd iteration, and I watched Quasi's video on how he programs weak auras, so then I went and programmed my weak aura, which I think is very pretty. You'll see that the green is my Fury, and the purple, which took me a while to learn from Quasi how to do this. I'm going to update my Prot Paladin UI to do the same thing. The purple one are soul shards for the Demon Hunter, and it basically means you can heal when you soul cleave. That's about it. So I have those tracked in pretty Demon Hunter colors. You see, I think about Elysian Decreeing there, and I'm like, not so good. So in that case, I glaive pulled in and then pulled them into Elysian Decree, silent sigil the one in the back, which will AoE uncap silence. However, the hunter silenced them instead. So that was my Protection Paladin pull. That's me pulling them. That was like an Avenger Shield into your Consecration. That was glaive into my Elysian Decree. Not normally the move, but I need to bring them back so we don't pull the patrol. So I don't know if that's how you do that, but that's how I did it. So I'm going to Sigil a Change these ones, right? Again, glaive pull into Sigil a Change. They all get stuck together. Glaive only bounces to 2 other targets, so you see I don't have aggro. Like if you run Avenger Shield or whatever it's called, when you run the shield talent for Mythic Plus and you use Avenger Shield that hits 5 and then I can Shield the Righteous, I can hit this whole pack really easily. So glaive doesn't quite work so well on big trash packs like this, and you'll see that I actually do struggle to keep aggro on those packs when I don't Elysian Decree them or Infernal Strike them. But you don't really want Infernal Strike onto those hurt a lot, and there's a lot of them. So I was trying to play ranged, probably could have Flame Sigiled, Infernal Striked, and then Infernal Striked out. That's probably more the play. I'm realizing that watching this back that I should probably use Infernal Strike as my main AoE opener. And then what I'm thinking of doing, if it's not an uber dangerous pack, is that because I'm forced into Blood Elf as a character, if I use the Blood Elf Racial, I get a little bit of Fury. So I can actually Blood Elf Racial, pop Immolation Aura, get like 25 Fury, and then I can jump in and have enough Fury to do 1 Fracture, and then I'll have enough, I was gonna say Holy Power, enough Fury to do Fell Devastation, which puts me in meta. So I'm still working on the openers, right? Prot Paladin opener did take me a while to get good at it. Really the opener, if you have it, is just Elysian Decree, Infernal Strike, but you don't always have that, and sometimes you need to do it a little differently. So I'm still learning it. Taking big damage here, I probably could have done something more to control these mobs. I probably could have imprisoned one. I probably could have Fear Sigiled them. Definitely should have used Fear Sigil. So that can be optimized, but it's again, it's the 11. This is my first plus 10 and higher. Basically, this is my first Pride run with the Demon Hunter. So I'll do this a lot more. The plan is to get KSM. If I just tunneled it, I could get KSM in like probably a week or 2 weeks. People instantly accept Demon Hunters. That's it I've found so far. I have never been rejected from a group. My item level is only 210. However, my main is 1300 IO, and I'm pushing like 800, 900 IO on this tune. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, well, this tank knows the routes. They just roll the Demon Hunter, and it's a Demon Hunter. So I was actually at like 203 item level, and I was getting accepted into 13s. So it's, you know, people are okay with bringing Demon Hunters, but I think a lot of it honestly is that my main's 1300, and I'm like clearly KSM. Even in Raid, even in the group finder, you can pretty much guess or tell that. And then when I get there, I ride my mount around. So people are, you know, I'm a little under geared, but the route is secure. Like I know the route. So that's probably the main reason I'm getting in, on top of just being a Demon Hunter in general. But I could probably queue for a 15 at my very trash IO right now on this character, but based on my main, and now that I'm about 210, I probably could get into 15 groups if they were alts, right? If it's other alts, right? Like we're in the season now where people's mains are like, you know, pretty geared out. People are 1500 IO if they really cared. Everyone's killed Sire. People are like 510 Mythic, right? On their mains, a lot of them. The people that I tend to play with, right? That's kind of what's going on. The priest almost leaves. I really have to tell him like, yo, please stay. I did explain my spear strategy for this. Basically, I was like, spear the second boss, spear the third boss. So I think we've been doing that pretty clean. DPS on this is very high. That's another thing about rolling an alt this part of the season. In the early season when I was Protection Paladin, DPS was garbage, but now, you know, this is my first alt for the season. Basically everyone has the damage, right? So this is pretty unfortunate, and I told them this, but I know this for a fact. I was like, we cannot pull, like, it's just unlucky. I was like, we cannot pull this patrol. If we pull the patrol, either by accident or out of just like annoyance, like, oh, I don't want to wait, you know, let's just go. That's the key. That's the key. If it's a key deplete, if we pull that skeleton, the key is depleted, or it's very likely to be depleted. And I just stressed the point. I was like, you want to, you know, whoever key this is, you want to ruin your key? Whatever, I don't care. I'm going to come back in here and plus a 14 after. I really don't care. So they wait, right? Anyway, we glaive him in, and we're getting him out here. We're going to put the Elysian Decree down. I'm a Protection Paladin. This is probably not how you play the game here. But they walk into it. I pop my orb, and we're doing big damage with the orb here. Someone said to let the DPS do that. I don't know about that. The orb is very much a tank toy, in my opinion. I know who I want to silence together, and then I do pretty gigantic damage, even as a 210 Vengeance Demon Hunter. Like, that was... me and that hunter soloed that group, essentially. So I think it's okay for the tank to take the orbs. I feel very confident taking the orbs. So anyway, if we had killed that patrol, I don't know if I've shown it. Oh no, I haven't. Anyway, I know for a fact, having done it with this route, if you pull that patrol by accident, on purpose, the Necropolis Pride timings are almost impossible to kill. They're incredibly hard. Basically, on one of the Stitchwork packs, like Gore Grind, you're gonna get Pride in the middle. So you're gonna have Gore Grind and something left and Pride. That's basically what happens if you get the count wrong and you come up here. You'll make it halfway through, but almost definitely you're gonna full wipe on your Pride up here. Your final Pride, really bad. Either the second to last or the final. It's the second to last, I believe. Oh no, it's both actually. Anyway. If you like this route, just try it and pull that patrol, and the key's over. It's really hard. So I apologize to the group here. I think 3 times. In that case, I didn't have aggro on those little stitchy dudes, those little hands, and they killed the priest. And I have a really hard time keeping aggro on them. So I'm playing like a Protection Paladin, and I'm not using Infernal Strike. So I glaved them. But in my head, glaive is Avenger Shield, and Avenger Shield hits 5 targets, and then you can do your AoE, which is Shield the Righteous, and that's 4 for me. So what you saw me do there was glaive only hit 3, and then hit 4, which is Immolation Aura for me in this class, and that does no damage. So here's another big fail. Elysian Decree way too early, and no aggro on the spare parts, and I cannot get aggro back on these spare parts. I'm trying to soul cleave them, I'm trying to get them back, and they killed the Warlock. So that was two examples of how you do not pull as a Demon Hunter. So you're watching a Protection Paladin like pretty hard struggle to keep aggro. I whiffed it should have been glaive then Elysian Decree if I wanted to pull them back. I Elysian Decree then glaive. Don't do that. So you're watching a Protection Paladin kind of fail at Demon Hunter. At Demon Hunter though, like this route, which is the bigger part of the dungeon, or a large portion of the dungeon, is what is the route to get good prides? What are the dangerous mobs, right? Handle them specifically. How am I handling Sanguine? I'd give myself like a 7 out of 10 for Sanguine management here. And Did I enforce the right comp to pull this off? We did. We had a Shadow Priest, so much of this has been good, I think. I think 80% of the tank job I am fulfilling, 20% of doing it's Demon Hunter related. Keeping aggro and being safe has not gone well a couple times, and it cost 2 people's lives up here. So that's my fault. There's nothing other to say than that's my fault. I am cycling my defensives correctly. I don't die. I have used my cheat death, which, if you'll see that big icon there, that basically the scary face that says 7 minutes above my health bar, that's just a reminder that, hey, you don't have cheat death, so, you know, don't die. Use meta, use Fell Devastation. But I haven't died yet. I don't think I die in this run either. I do not die as a Vengeance Demon Hunter, and so it's been kind of interesting. Even at a 13, I'm not the one dying. I am not the person who dies. Vengeance Demon Hunter just keeps on living. Fiery Brand comes back real quick. Fell Devastation, which puts you in meta, comes back real quick. Soul Cleave comes back real quick, and you're just healing, and then you have a cheat death. So I don't even know if I need the Sun King's cheat death trinket. I'm farming it like crazy. I cleared 10-10 normal and 10-10 heroic just for the achievements, and then for the loot, I got a lot of loot actually. So the Warlock wants to pull big, and Ninja pulls this pack together, right? And I've got meta, and Fiery Brand, because of my legendary, is gonna come back real quick. So you know what you do until Fiery Brand comes back? You kite. So this is the kiting meta that people are talking about. This is stupid. This is just dumb. And I didn't double pull this. I know we have pride, but I'm like, are we enjoying this? This is the kiting meta people are talking about, is when you pull dumb. You pull too big, and then the Demon Hunter basically has to run away until Fell Devastation or Fiery Brand comes back. And so that's what people are talking about, because let's be honest, Shadowlands, like 100% of the keys, like, let's just sit in Sanguine here, full heal, whatever. This pack's over, someone needs to come back. 100% of the high key pushers are Vengeance Demon Hunter. Okay, so there's like some Paladins, there's like some Bears. Bears are mega tanky. There's not that many Monks. There's no Warriors, and not a lot of Blood Decays at the higher keys, right? So when people are talking about tanking, they're literally just talking about Vengeance Demon Hunter tanking. And so, like, that's what it looks like, you know? In that case, they double pulled, but, like, say you pull a little bit bigger than you can really survive. The thing is, you're so fast, is that you just run away, you do a little bit of soul cleaving to get Fiery Brand back. I was off by, like, 2 seconds on that. That Flame Sigil, yeah, that was way off, way off. I'm learning. I'm gonna get this place perfect on my Demon Hunter. Let me tell you, I'll get it perfect. But that's what they're talking about. So we pulled way too big. On a lot of tanks, like a Protection Paladin, we would just be dead. We would probably just die. We'd have to bubble and then have Guardians. And then neither of those, you know, once you bubble, once you Guardians, do you know how long it is until they come back? It's 5 minutes. Even with Conduits, maybe it's like 3.5 minutes. It's like the next dungeon when those cooldowns are coming back. Vengeance Demon Hunter, you're gonna get your biggest mitigation back, other than pure meta. You're gonna get Fell Devastation or you're gonna get Fiery Brand, and if you cycle them, you're gonna basically have mitigation back up in like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And so you can just kite for 10 seconds, then your mitigation's back, and then you face tank again. So really this is the first dungeon, because I've been playing it very safe. This is the first dungeon where I've really experienced like the Vengeance Demon Hunter kiting meta. That was it. Like, we should have been dead to that pull, but I just kited the F out of it. So I barely get that Flame Sigil there. Again, I should have Infernal Striked as well. Like, put the Sigil down, try to game it. It's a 2-second delay, right? And then seal the deal with at least some sort of tagging aggro with Infernal Strike. I forget to Infernal Strike because I'm a Protection Paladin main. I'm like, I don't Divine Steed into pulls, and I'm still not used to, I'm trying to train myself to Infernal Strike into mobs. Protection Paladins, if you watch my guide, we don't do that, in my opinion. Like, you basically A shield, and then from pretty far away, you can shield the Righteous, And then you can Divine Toll, and I'm like 30 yards from the mobs, and I'm just like, you know, I'm a tank hunter, you know. The Vengeance Demon Hunter to get Fracture off, to get Soul Cleave, to get, this is obvious, but I'm learning it. I'm explaining how I'm learning it here. You know, to do your rotation, you need to be in melee, and I'm still just not really used to tanking that much in melee. And I am definitely not used to jumping into big mob packs. Protection Paladin, at least how I play it, is very much the opposite. I stay back. In the raid, I will say that the mobility in Castle Nathria Heroic of a Demon Hunter is nice. It's like really, really nice. I have recorded multiple times over at this point, killing all of Castle Nathria, like easy. Like, except for Sire, who's just hard for the group more than it is the tank. All the fights at Castle Nathria for a Vengeance Demon Hunter are legit boring. Like, I'm bored. Like, I'm not even hitting all my abilities, and there is no threat of me dying. Like, it's just like boring. Fiery Brand comes back so quickly, and if you look at some of my logs, I do die in some of them to dump, but like your general rotation is Fiery Brand. When there's no Fiery Brand, you fell Devastation, and then by then, Fiery Brand is back, and you fill it with Demon Spikes, and meta if things go really wrong at a weird time. Like, you really don't even need meta if the raid goes well. You almost never even pop meta unless you're trying to like proactively help the healer through like a hard spot. You don't need it. You just rotate Fiery Brand, Fell Dev, Demon Spikes. That's it, and that's the whole rotation. It's pretty nice. So we're gonna get him down first phase, and this is a Kyrian. This is a Kyrian Holy Paladin, and all I have to say is, holy crap, Holy Paladin. What is that damage? That Holy Paladin just did 13k consistent in one phase of that boss. I think he might have speared him. I think he saved the spear. So GG to this group. We speared all the right bosses. And wow. I thought it was Venthyr for sure, but then I was like, I was like, oh wait a minute, he got the Kyrian Goliath for us though. That was a Kyrian Paladin. So I think he basically popped wings, maybe Seraphim at the same time, did focus on DPS. It's a low damage phase of that fight, especially for a Vengeance Demon Hunter. And on a Prot Pal, I would just bubble it and be like, hey healer, you just do it, you know, pop the dam. And if he was Venthyr, he would have done 30k. Almost 30k, like Ashen Hollow literally just takes like, oh, what's your damage? Here's the 2x multiplier. It just does crazy damage. So that must have been the spear. Okay, that's what I'm realizing. See, he must have speared him and done like, you know, Seraphim wings damage to him, which is decent. But that 15k was amped because of the spear, I'd have to guess. So wrapping up this fight. This fight is way harder than it should be. Luckily, again, for an 11, this group way outgears an 11. Like, these damage numbers, if you're suffering in Pogs and 11s, and you're like, hey, where's my 6k Shadow Priest? And my, like, I think the Warlock is 1500 IO, even though he dies right now. And I think everyone's like, I think the Holy Paladin, this is their alt, because I saw them running around on the KSM mounts, but they don't have KSM. But everyone else, I think this is their main, and they're just like, I don't know, they're just farming 11s for some reason, I don't know, but the damage on this is of like 15, 16 key level damage. This group could time this on a 15, no question, if people didn't die, and I was a little bit more confident on the aggro. We could time a 15 with this group. This is enough damage. I mean, we have 6 minutes on this timer. We should have +2'd this if I wasn't such a joker. That patrol timing was a little unfortunate. That is the RNG of this route, is you kind of have to wait for that patrol. When you come back down, if it's coming, we're not pulling it, and I'm waiting for it to go back. So route's a little bit slow in that way, but is what it is. It's a little bit slow, but we killed the boss with 6 minutes and 30 seconds left, so it's not that slow. Anyway, this damage, if I didn't do those bad pulls, we'd +15 this, and I would also live the damage as a Vengeance Demon Hunter at 210. So it's been really fun learning this. I've enjoyed a lot building the UI. Look forward to a Protection Paladin versus Demon Hunter comparison once I do KSM on this toon, it will not take me long to KSM on a Vengeance Demon Hunter. It is not. It's one, I know the dungeons, the route, my main has the IO, and yeah, I don't need loot from this already. I'm already only interested in basically 220 and above gear. And Vengeance Demon Hunter is a lot of fun, but I'm still kind of bad at it. However, I know it's the same routes. I have not changed any of my routes so far. I've timed all the 10s for the most part, and having fun on my first alt. And we'll be comparing the tanks as I see it in the future. I'll see you on the next video.